Hey everybody, welcome to Mr. B University. Our first video is all about introducing ourselves to the musical staff. So there it is, the musical staff. We're not going to talk about and learn about everything about the musical staff today. That's not our goal. Our goal is just to take a look at it, be able to recognize what it is, and talk about a few things that are on the musical staff. So first of all, the musical staff is made up of 5 lines. These 5 lines travel across the page, and everything else having to do with our musical staff is built onto those 5 lines. Okay, those 5 lines, super important. There's our musical staff. The first thing you might notice about this musical staff is this funny looking thing at the beginning. This is called a treble clef. Every musical staff will have a clef at the beginning of it. Those of you that play instruments that make higher sounds will have a treble clef at the beginning of every one of your musical staffs. Those of you who play instruments that play low sounds will have a bass clef staff at the beginning. But most of you will be playing music that shows a treble clef. How about this here? That's a number 4 on top of another number 4. That's called a time signature. We'll talk about time signatures as we learn our musical instruments as well. Also put on our musical staff. These musical notes tell us when and how to make sounds with our instrument. There's a note. That kind of note's called a quarter note. It's got an oval note head that's colored in and a line coming up from that note head. Here's another quarter note, but it looks kind of upside down, doesn't it? We'll talk about why that is as we go through the year. Another kind of note is this one. Very close to a quarter note, but instead of having a note head that's colored in, it's got a hole in the middle of the oval. This is just an oval with a hole in it. There's no line coming from it. This is called a whole note. These are cool looking. It looks like 2 notes that are connected by that thick line at the top. These are called eighth notes. Now, these are fun. This one's called a sharp sign. This is called a flat sign. And this is a natural sign. We'll see these little by little as we move throughout our years of introducing and learning music on our musical instruments. On here, those of you that play violin and cello will be learning about bow markings like down bow and up bow. All of you will be learning about articulations. That's how to make your sounds. This articulation is called a slur sign. We'll also learn dynamics. Dynamics are all about volume, how loudly or softly to play your instrument. This one's called a decrescendo. It tells us to go from louder to softer. These 2 are volume markings as well. The F tells us to play louder, and P tells us to play softer. You see that line going up and down there? That's a measure line. Now, there's one over to the side as well. You see that measure line? Now, if I draw a rectangle around both of those measure lines, you'll notice that there's space in between those 2 measure lines where the notes are. That space between those 2 measure lines is called a measure. It's kind of like a room where the notes live. Here's a special kind of measure line called a double bar. That tells us, stop, the song is over. Well, to the musical staff, we didn't learn everything about it. We didn't even mention everything that's on this page, but we are just taking a quick look to recognize what our musical staff is all about.